Iran's formerly supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, is dead. This wretched and vile man had the blood of hundreds and even thousands of Americans on his hands and was responsible for the slaughter of countless thousands of innocent people all across many countries.
I think he's willing to do small operations to make sure he can solve a problem instead of having to do incredibly large troops on the ground operations in these countries. The first thing that really entered my head after kind of getting over the shock of all of that is like, okay, be prepared. Because there may be people in the United States and around the world that will carry out terrorist attacks in the name of defending the Iranian regime, the Ayatollah, and also in the name of Islam. And unfortunately, that turned out to be very, very true. At least it appears that way. I think the gentleman, piece of dirt that carried out the shooting in Austin had a shirt on. Yeah, no, I know. I was trying to do it in like a derogatory way, but I felt like it didn't quite.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was like almost a little bit of sarcasm there.
Yeah, that scumbag.
Yeah, that piece of crap that shot people in Austin had, I think, Property of Allah shirt on. There's been reports that there was an undershirt that had more stuff on it. There was a Quran, I think, either in the car or around him at some point. I don't remember all the details, but
and
really
it was all covered in BO.
Yeah, well, of course. But the biggest thing that I wanted to tell you is like, be prepared. I leaned over to my wife in church and said, listen, don't be afraid. Don't be anxious. Just have a little bit of heightened awareness. Be kind of aware of what's going on around you. If you have a firearm and you are in a place, I hate to even have to say this, where you are legally allowed to carry it. And not just carry it, but make sure you understand how to access your firearm in a situation, not standing still perfectly at a range, where you actually have to pull it out and defend your family, move your family out of the way, move yourself, understand what you're going to do in certain situations. Again, this is not being paranoid or filled with anxiety or fear, but it's time to be prepared, because there are a lot of people that came over the border during the Biden administration and before that may want to do us harm as a part of this. And this is not something that we're just making up. I think, was it Hassan who said, or not Hassan, what's his name, who said that we can't attack Iran because of the sleeper cell people here.
I mean, that's kind of a across the board argument. I think it was Robert Barnes that I was responding to on that one. But
I figured it was a leftist, like crazy lunatic, but it was Robert Barnes.
It's just this impetus of putting the responsibility on Americans for everything, which essentially takes agency away from everybody else. And it just, we'll get into it more, but it's just a really stupid criticism.
Yeah, absolutely. So moral of the story, be prepared, and prayers absolutely go out to the families of those that have been affected so far by that, not just here, but abroad as well, and obviously for our soldiers and their families. So
it's a good reminder too that if you don't know how to do CPR, you should probably learn. There's other life-saving skills you can learn, but CPR for sure. I saw video.
I did too.
Of the the immediate aftermath. The police, Austin police. It was 6th Street, so they're very close.
They were right there, within
great.
1 minute.
They were great. So shout out to Austin PD for the great work. But there were people on site also. There was a woman doing CPR, a man and a wife beater trying to help out. Those skills are priceless.
Yeah,
it can be seconds. So get yourself a class, get your family a class.
And I don't imagine that you can beat a minute for response time.
It's not just for gunshot wounds either, by the way. It's, if there's ever an emergency, you're out in the lake, somebody falls off a jet ski, or, somebody falls off a hill, or, you might need CPR someday, so learn it.
Absolutely. But also carry and be ready to use your firearm responsibly if necessary. Okay, so let's go to Iran. And we saw a number of, this conversation happened before, right? You guys remember this was World War III. Prior to this, when we struck and took out nuclear capability, the enrichment capability. I say nuclear because it's like the only country in the history of the world that's ever gotten to 60% and not pursued a bomb if they don't actually pursue a bomb. The enrichment capability.
It was nuclear capability. It just wasn't weapons grade at the time.
Wasn't there yet, right? And so there's some valid criticisms of how we approach the situation with Iran. But then there's also some people on the right and left that are giving these childish temper tantrums about why the United States should sit on its hands and just trust that the Iranians are going to honor their word, and we should have just negotiated with them in the first place. We'll get to all of that. But For those of you who haven't been paying much attention to this, let me give you a quick update. This weekend, Donald Trump, President of the United States, launched Operation Epic Fury on Iran. That's supposed to be China using lasers to shoot down incoming rockets. Is that what the...
That was in Israel. That was in Haifa.
Yeah.
So why would China be using...
No, I'm sorry. I meant to say Israel using...
Oh, yes.
It's not China. That's China. Jeez.
And we made sure not to use any video game footage.
Ah, that's good.
It's a rarity. It's a very uniquely U.S. thing.
طيارة حربية طيارة حربية شوف
So obviously there's extensive damage. You can see from CNN's coverage and everybody else right now that there are scenes unfolding around the Middle East of damage, obviously in Iran and other places. We'll get to a list of some of those. But let me just give you a quick rundown. The Ayatollah is dead. That was confirmed over the weekend. Also 554 is the estimate coming out of Iran right now as well.
Including most of his entire command structure.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, but I heard that Iran has already filled their briefly open position of supreme leader with the Ayatollah LaBeouf.
Big gay people are scary to me.
Bro, you could be Jewish over there. Just don't be Jewish on my lap.
Just do it.
I don't know that I disagree with "don't be Jewish on my lap"
Just
either.
don't be
Like
Jewish on
that's
my lap, bro.
still. I mean, it sounds like
Nothing silly like that.
Natalie
say.
Portman could be Jewish on my lap.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whoa!
I'm serious.
Wow.
Like, yeah.
I'm just saying.
What a shill!
Queen Amidala.
What a shill!
You wouldn't get.
Where's your 7,000 shekels, Lane?
I would do it for free.
I'm just saying, bro. Jewish people scare me.
Big Jewish people on my leg, bro. Get into a fight.
If that makes me anti-Semitic, then I'm that.
Again, providing a little levity never hurts.
I think he might be Jewish.
Yeah, Shy?
He's Catholic. He's Catholic.
Yeah, he's Catholic. I was about to say, what are you talking
Did
about?
he say his bar mitzvah?
He said, I'm not down with that. Like, I don't understand this person. Over 740 missiles and 850 drones were launched by Iran. And look, like we said, questioning the strikes and the motivations, the mission, the defined kind of outcomes that we are seeking, that's totally fine. Nobody has a problem with somebody going on and saying, hey, I want to know how this ends. I want to know what we're trying to accomplish. I want to know if it's not a war, what is it? If it's not regime change, what is it? If it's not boots on the ground, what is it? If it's not a war for Israel, what is it? Like, those are fine questions to ask, but please don't get trapped in this logic of if Israel's interest happen to align with the United States interests, that we're going to war for the Jews. And that's what I see more and more and more of. And it basically, you're taking your brain and just putting it off to the side and saying, I can't think about this logically. I'm just going to go with the Jews control everything, and therefore the United States is getting into a war. And I've seen the document. There's these 7 countries that they're going to take out, or 6 countries, and whatever the number was, and Iran was always on the list. Really? It didn't need to be a list that was created to understand that Iran was going to be a problem that needed to be taken care of at some point. There are different ways that you can take care of that, through negotiations, through agreements, through targeted strikes like we've done before in the past, and obviously on this occasion, something like this. We've tried a lot of different ways to deal with Iran, the largest state funder and sponsor of terrorism in the world. Without Iran, the Middle East pretty much looks like a much better place for a lot of people. It's not fixed, but these guys are a thorn in everybody's side, and it was a problem that would have to be dealt with. Now, let's go back to President Trump. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, well, the one thing I wanted to add to this is we're by no means just sitting here and running the party line of everything Trump does is good.
Not
and
at
if
all.
you oppose him, then you're not MAGA and you're an idiot. That's not what we're doing.
Right.
What we're saying is there's valid criticisms to be had. Namely, that we need to know, we know what day one looks like.
Right.
You need to tell us what the last day looks like. And
Yeah.
nobody has made that clear yet. And the administration is incumbent to do that. But to just say, well, this is going to be, Iraq 2.0. This is going to be a 20-year war. You don't know that any more than I know this is going to be just like Venezuela or, the operations this summer.
Yeah.
But to pretend that the justifications are only because of the Jewish lobby or because of the Zionists, there's a million variables that you have to ignore
Yeah.
or just be too stupid to understand to come to that conclusion.
I hate to say this, but that's a really good jumping off point to Dave Smith's tweet. Traitor. That's what he said about the president. You see the difference? You can say, hey, listen, we've been down this road before. We have spent many, many, many lives and trillions of dollars on wars in the Middle East. I feel like we were dragged into those wars by Israel for their purposes, not necessarily the purposes and the benefit of the American people in the United States. I want to make sure we're not doing that again. I want to make sure we understand how this ends and what our goals are and why we're doing this. Didn't say that. Said traitor. Tells me everything that I need to know. I think he's a smart guy that has some really stupid opinions on how the world actually works, not living in a fantasy land where everybody just gets along because we signed a piece of paper and I can trust everybody to do their job. Not how it works in reality, unfortunately. President Trump yesterday, though, briefed the nation on our operations so far.
Iran's formerly supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, is dead. This wretched and vile man had the blood of hundreds and even thousands of Americans on his hands and was responsible for the slaughter of countless thousands of innocent people all across many countries. The entire military command is gone as well, and many of them want to surrender into saving their lives. They want immunity. They're calling by the thousands. Combat operations continue at this time in full force, and they will continue until all of our objectives are achieved. We have very strong objectives. They could have done something 2 weeks ago, but they just couldn't get there.
So you should tell us what those are.
I know, right?
CENTCOM shared the news that 3 U.S. military service members have been killed in action. As one nation, we grieve for the true American patriots who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our nation, even as we continue the righteous mission for which they gave their lives. We pray for the full recovery of the wounded and send our immense love and eternal gratitude to the families of the fallen. And sadly, there will likely be more. Before it ends, that's the way it is. Likely be more, but we'll do everything possible where that won't be the case.
There you go. So that is a really good example of a couple of things that we've just talked about. One, tell us what those objectives are, right?
To that
we
point,
have the best objectives.
To that point, CNN was reporting earlier that Pete Hegseth was going to be laying out those objectives in Arlington, or might have already done it.
Okay.
I had them on screen. I can't hear, but
okay, perfect. So if they do lay that out during the show, we'll bring that to you guys. So Mission Control, you guys make sure you're on top of that. The other part is really interesting to point out is that people stopped that clip at the place where he said there are going to be more, right? Instead of playing the full clip of what he actually said, which we did. Now, we didn't play all of the speech, but to give you the context of that moment. He didn't just say, there's likely going to be more dead, boop, cut, and you go to CNN Wolf Blitzer telling you, President of the United States says more people will die. In fact, in this, of course, this conflict could produce more casualties. Unfortunately, we are now up from 3 to 4 U.S. servicemen dead, 10 Israelis and 5 in Arab states as well.
And those Arabs would, I assume they're ones allied with us or helping with us.
Yeah, exactly. So that's unfortunate, but he said we're going to do everything that we can to minimize that. I want to make sure you understand that I don't think that Donald Trump ever wants to do this, ever. I think he wants to make sure that he has no remote possibility of being forced into doing something much, much more dramatic later. I think he's willing to do small operations to make sure he can solve a problem instead of having to do incredibly large troops on the ground operations in these countries. So he added this on Truth Social. I've just been informed that we have destroyed and sunk 9 Iranian naval ships. I didn't know they had 9. Some of them relatively large and important. We are going after the rest. They will soon be floating at the bottom of the sea also. Okay, you don't float if you're at the bottom of the sea. But listen, let's not split hairs. They're at the bottom of the sea. That's all that really matters. In a different attack, we largely destroyed their naval headquarters. And this is a part of Trump right now that we're about to read that you don't get from most people throughout history that are leading this country. He went on to say, other than that, their Navy's doing very well. President Donald J. Trump, he takes the time to just dig in. Listen, if I was
Did he just compliment Sandwich a
little bit
operation?
You guys are doing great.
He's negging.
You guys are still floating on the bottom. It's not quite on the bottom.
Iran's beautiful fleet, mostly destroyed, but still doing very well.
Use some glass bottom boats to look at the ships in your fleet. I don't know, if I was in the service right now and I was being deployed and I was over there and I read that, I would be like, hell yeah, that's my commander-in-chief.
Laugh, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I would love that. And so far, pardon me, allergies are still kind of a thing here in Texas. The response from Iran, their retaliatory strikes have hit a number of places that maybe you wouldn't think, but here's a clip. What the hotel do wrong?
Wow. Wow. Wow, another one. Wow.
They were targeting Andrew Tate's war room.
It's just the Matrix, bro.
Sounds like they're watching football.
That was a big one.
I mean, it's kind of the equivalent if you think about it.
Yes.
Oh my God.
That's a bad one right there. Oil infrastructure in Saudi Arabia. Obviously, the strikes that resulted in loss of life, worse. I'm just saying there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of reason to do that if you're Iran, right? You're going to piss some people off that were basically staying out of the fight to a degree. So let me just run down a list really quickly of where they've hit. So in the UAE, they've hit civilian infrastructure and also a French base. In Bahrain, civilian infrastructure as well as U.S. Fifth Fleet's base. I believe that's the domed thing that you saw.
I think that's where the casualties occurred, if I'm correct.
Exactly. And I've heard reports that was a very, very expensive forward-looking radar. I don't know what not forward-looking radar. It was some kind of an advanced warning radar system that we lost there. So that's obviously not good stuff at all. Like, this is all very, very bad. Kuwait, U.S. bases, and the embassy. Qatar, Al Udeid Air Base, International Airport, natural gas facilities, prompting Qatar to shut down their LNG production right now, which immediately spiked gas prices and energy prices across Europe. I think by somewhere is about 50%, I saw.
50%?
50% is what I saw. So maybe fact check that, guys. It's one of those things where you see it and you're not.
That seems excessive. I could be wrong, but that seems, I mean, because oil's only up about
oil's not up that
8%,
much. Yeah,
so.
It was the LNG stuff. So fact check it, guys.
Most of the LNG there, a lot of it goes to Asia too. So it would surprise me that had that effect on European markets. But
they may just be getting scared. That happens, especially in France. They're like, hey, we need more nukes. We'll get to that. Saudi Arabia, they hit oil refineries and air bases. And the Saudi Arabia thing really, it just really baffles me. You can be pissed off at Saudi Arabia if you're Iran. I get that, right? But they basically said, we're just not going to do a whole lot about this about a month ago. The United States can't use our airspace or anything like that. So just everybody chill, right? They didn't tell us not to do anything, but it seemed like they were kind of hedging their bets a little bit. Well, you start bombing their infrastructure, Iran, to Saudi Arabia, and now the kingdom put this statement out. The kingdom affirms its full solidarity with and unwavering support for the brotherly countries and its readiness to place all its capabilities at their disposal in support of any measures they may undertake. It also warns of the grave consequences resulting from the continued violation of state sovereignty and the principles of international law. I'm not sure they care a whole hell of a lot about international law.
No one cares about international law. It's a made-up term.
Bombing our facilities.
It's nice to put in press releases, but that was before they had been directly targeted also.
Yeah.
So you can assume after this latest round of rogue attack from the regime that the Saudis are not going to be too happy, especially to see later. We have a clip. Didn't even know this a few years ago. MBS referred to the Ayatollah as Hitler. So it's
Really?
not like, again, I pose this question. What does Israel get out of this that Saudi Arabia doesn't also directly get out of it? So right there, if you just look at that comparison, the do it for the Jews thing kind of falls apart, especially since there's some reporting behind the scenes that Saudi Arabia was pushing this attack too.
Yeah, exactly. So when I don't know about you, but when I saw that, I was like, what are they doing? What are they doing?
I don't think they know what they're doing. Well, unless they're just trying to commit terror to make these countries too scared to respond and step in on behalf of the United
feel like it's
States.
going to have the exact opposite response where they're saying, okay, well, yeah, we thought it was a threat before and we were happy to let Israel and the United States kind of deal with it, but now we're going to step into the fight because they've taken it to us. And so we have to join in. Now that's always nice to hear, but unfortunately in Kuwait, that resulted in some friendly fire with the 3, was it F-15s?
Yeah.
That were shot down. Fortunately, it seems like everybody got out, but that's the viral picture of a guy who's on his knees with his hands up, and a guy kind of with a pipe, and he's basically saying like, hey, I'm not a threat.
I could not validate that was a real picture.
But that's what's making the rounds, at least on the internet, and so that's in reference to that potentially.
Be careful with what you're sharing. Do not share video game footage. Do not share pictures. Do not do anything until you double, triple, quadruple check, because people get clicks in times like these.
They absolutely do. So the question is, why is Iran being so haphazard with its response? And maybe the answer is the command structure doesn't exist anymore.
We have already told our, armed forces to be careful about the targets that they choose. As a matter of fact, our, military units are now in fact, independent and somehow isolated, and they are acting based on instructions, general instructions given to them in advance.
That's not great.
It's like a break glass in case of emergency.
Yes.
And they broke the glass for a flood, and there's a fire extinguisher.
It's called standing orders.
Yeah.
You give orders in case this happens, in case that happens. These are your orders.
I saw this in Crimson Tide. They were told to fire their nukes.
I didn't see that. I know that's
it's a great movie. How can
I know
you
you're
not
supposed
see
to roll Tide, but I don't know about any of that. But
whatever.
Yeah.
Well, look, if the fighting does continue, we all have to be careful, because some sources say that Iran may actually deploy their most ancient weapon.
You don't want to kill some Jews, do you? We can go on a flight, bomb Israel.
Is it safe?
Even families.
What?
Do you trust me?
Yes.
Big if true.
accurate reporting.
I don't.
Do you know Aladdin was Chinese? He was a Uyghur.
Was he?
Yes, I think he was.
No, he wasn't. He was
Really?
a street rat. Everyone knows that.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Found
how
the lamp.
CCP
Lane,
describes
don't
him.
rewrite history, okay?
It's a Chinese. Look it up.
It's
Pokemon
not.
a racial slur, street rat.
Yeah.
Look, can we fact check that
Honest.
research? I want to get an admonishment.
He was
No.
the diamond
I've already
in
been
the rough.
admonished by.
Don't be wrong. Like,
He was the diamond in the rough, not the diamond miner in the Congolese.
yeah, he's Chinese.
That's also not China.
None of this.
Why did we go to Africa?
Because China does
There's no
that.
need. Okay.
Anyway, sorry for this.
Anyway.
Can of worms. Let's move on.
The question is really, is any of this necessary? And most importantly, and I think we should always think about this with this context, does it benefit the United States of America? There are a lot of different things in kind of our international stance that will benefit this country. Surprisingly, you can't just kind of retreat from the rest of the world and expect everything to go swimmingly well for you and for them. So I understand that there are, different challenges with that, but let's just go through a couple of the reasons that this would be in the best interest of the United States and others, and I'll give you a list. Reason number one, nukes. Iran was pursuing enrichment, and I don't care how many Dave Smiths or anybody else out there that might come along and say they had no desire whatsoever for acquiring nuclear weapons or producing a nuclear weapon.
They wanted
I don't wanna hear it.
latent nuclear deterrent.
A latent nuke. It's the stupidest thing I've ever heard of in my life, because a latent nuclear deterrent becomes I gotta kick your ass so you don't develop a nuclear deterrent. Okay, it's the stupidest thing I've heard of. But prior to Midnight Hammer, and that was the operation. What was it? Last June.
June.
Yeah. So last June, where it
Bordeaux
was
is-
flawless.
Yeah.
There were 972 pounds of 60% enriched uranium. Now, just remember, only 2 to 5% enrichment is needed for civilian use.
And this is
that's
important
energy.
because they'll say, well, they say they're 2 weeks away from a weapon, 2 weeks away from a weapon. No, what they're saying is that 60%, which they had major stockpiles of,
Yes.
and even 20% can enrich to 60, can enrich to weapons grade in a matter of days and weeks.
Yeah, it can
That's
go
what
very,
they're
very,
saying.
very quickly. Now, delivery mechanism, fine,
There's
I understand
yes.
that, but there's a lot of reason to be concerned. Like, do you think if they nuked Israel or if they nuked Saudi Arabia or something like that, you think that wouldn't drag everybody in? No, of course
You'd
they
see
couldn't get here.
proliferation of nukes
Yeah.
like you'd never seen, like you couldn't even fathom.
What if it's just one we didn't even know existed? How about that? Or how about a dirty bomb? Ever hear that? You ever hear of people? Is there maybe a movie or a show throughout the history of the United States that maybe shows, I don't know, Muslim extremists trying to get a nuke or a dirty bomb into the United States? Yes, of course. Now, could we stop it? I hope. You want to take that chance? Or do you want to make sure it never happens in the first place?
Applejack, what the hell are you doing?
Lunch.
Yeah, what do you got in there?
Where?
In the barbecue.
Lunch.
Applejack, are you grilling?
Yeah.
Yeah, grilling what?
Oh, dude. Whoa, Applejack. You can't grill that in here. What is that, a placenta?
Yeah, I found it on the discount rack.
I don't care. It's a safety hazard.
No. Don't listen to Joel. You know I have no problem with a safety hazard, as everyone here you well know. But you do have a problem with your choice in meat. That is disgusting. Why don't you try our sponsor, Backyard Butchers? You get 20% off your first box, by the way, plus an extra 10% off when you subscribe. Become a Backyard Butchers member. Go to backyardbutchers.com/Crowder, and it's much better meat, and it's cheaper, more convenient.
Okay. Yeah. Can I borrow your iPad?
No, I'm doing the show, Applejack. Get out.
Get out. Okay.
All right.
Please, make all the noise you want.
You think he's all right?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know that I care.
But we should have, we need a Backyard Butchers. But I've eaten all the meat that they've said. We're actually going to be releasing with Backyard Butchers a box, the Crowder box. That is what I eat is what we will make available to you for a family of 4.
Yeah.
So, it's great. I will say this. It's above Costco, which is kind of my standard bear. Better than Costco meat. Probably wouldn't be like when you pay like $80 for a steak, you know, but it's really good daily drivers, better than Costco, and that's kind of my standard. And from American Butchers, backyardbutchers.com/Crowder. I can't recommend them enough. Really good stuff. And it's not just banking on conservatives supporting their stuff. It's actually good quality meat.
Yeah, by the way, I found out that there's like a significant majority of the people there are subscribers to my club.
Oh, wonderful.
Oh, great.
So they're all watching. Yeah, but they put their money where their mouth is, so that's fantastic. Go support them.
Yeah.
Excited. Are you putting, by chance, you going to put any ribs in your box?
I wasn't. I've asked them about that, but it's going to have some ribeyes. It's going to have some, because they have good fillets. It's going to have some sirloins. Their burger patties are great, and then like some ground beef.
Yeah.
And we're putting it together because I want to make it affordable, but something where someone kind of set it, forget it, always have it in the freezer.
Okay,
but
nice.
ribs is not a bad idea. I just think most people can't cook ribs.
I got that new smoker, and I want to put a big cut in there.
Well, we can definitely get some. I don't know if it'll be in the monthly box.
Probably not in the box.
But they have it. Okay.
Yes, they do.
Okay, yeah.
And by the way, recent negotiations with Iran, they refused to stop enrichment. This is pretty simple. They refused to stop enrichment. No matter what we did, they refused. Now, here's a kicker. Some of the negotiations are starting to leak out. Apparently, the United States made an offer that would have taken care of all of their "we just want this for peaceful use" arguments. The United States offered Iran free nuclear energy forever. Forever.
And it's really interesting because they had a bunch, they were enriching at Isfahan, I think, to 20%. And they said, okay, you can do that, but we're doing that so we can send it to the Tehran research reactor, which wasn't hit.
Right.
Because that's where we use it for things like making
medical
medicine.
research, yeah.
And then they looked into it. Not one medicine had ever been developed at the Tehran
that
research
you know
reactor.
of. They've invented a whole lot of stuff.
It's all a sham.
Yeah, absolutely. So that in and of itself right there is a problem. Now, I told you guys on, I think, Friday or Thursday, whenever we covered this subject, it looks like President Trump is coming in just 1 minute. So again, we'll bring you over to that when that happens. I said a negotiated deal is preferable to any other scenario here, but you have to have a willing and trusted partner on the other side of the table. And right there, they're not willing, and they're certainly not trusted, right? And for all of those people out there who, I think, again, with maybe some best intentions, some not so best intentions, saying like we should just go back to the JCPOA. We had an agreement with them. Oh, really? Did we? So Iran was supposed to stop enrichment of uranium at 3.67% and agree to inspections of facilities. We've talked about this before. It was a flawed inspection process. Fine. But it was better than nothing. I'll grant that. Reduce the number of centrifuges. And then here's the problem. It had sunset provisions, 10 to 15 years on their nuclear ambitions. And then we got to do this again. It's like a draft pick that you're trying to lock up into a long-term contract. And like, no, I want a short-term contract so we can come back to the table and try to bend you over a barrel again. And essentially, we opened up massive amounts of revenue to them, and we didn't deal with the terror groups or their ballistic missiles in that deal. It was a bad deal. For the Dave Smiths of the world, it was a great deal because it kicked the can down the road. Kept us out of war for a minute, but it didn't solve the problem. I'd rather solve the problem earlier than later. Call me crazy, especially when people don't have enough time to make a bomb. That would be ideal.
And there is a lot of political risk in Donald Trump doing something like this, because if it fails, he looks like an idiot. And then you can say, well, there was no imminent threat. But this is something you can really only judge decades down the road when you see the fruition of this, because like you said, kicking the can down the road, and then someone else has to deal with it, and you realize what a massive mess up that was to kick the can down the road, because that can eventually explodes and destroys everything.
Exactly. I mean, look at what we've done with immigration, kicking the can down the road. Now we have a problem that it's almost impossible to deal with deportations, because everybody goes, well, no, you can't do that. That's not humane. It creates additional problems. And look, I want to be fair. I do like Dave. I just happen to vehemently disagree with him on this point. If I veer into any personal attacks, that's not my intention. I really want to go after the ideas, because I think the ideas don't make sense in the world that we live in. In another world, maybe. Just certainly not this one. Reason number 2, ballistic missiles. I really don't think they sound like that.
The Applejack just farted? What happened?
Yeah. So listen, there was a potential nuclear threat down the road. Depending on who you listen to, it could be very soon or very long. It doesn't matter. There was a threat there that we had to deal with one way or the other. But there's a missile threat now. And there's a fear that Iran would use them preemptively. And they do have the capability to make hundreds of these per month. They have a very good program.
They don't have
not good for us, good for them.
They don't have a history of preemptively attacking people, though.
No, but there was a fear that they could. So if they get backed into a corner.
They do, though. They do.
Oh, wait.
Right. If negotiations...
They absolutely do.
That's called sarcasm.
They usually did it in response, right?
The thought, and you can read this from the Axios article, it's really good. Marco Puto put a great thread together on X, and what the officials in the White House are saying is if they got to a position where they felt negotiations weren't going their way, then they could go ahead and preemptively use this massive swath of ballistic missiles that they have.
Right.
And instead of waiting for that moment, let's take out their launchers, let's take out some of their missiles, let's take out their air defense, let's do all this all now while we're on our front foot. Again, you can agree or disagree. That is a valid argument.
Yeah.
Though.
And to your point, Josh, like I thought most of their ballistic missiles that they have fired were in response, coming from Iran. They funded the terror groups to launch rockets into Israel, all the time.
Well, they've done it too. I mean, in the last decade for sure.
Yeah.
But never mind. I was just trying to make a little joke there.
That's
I thought
okay.
it was funny.
I see how it is.
Thank you, Lane.
I mean, they shot at our base when we killed their Soleimani guy. So, we'll see. Most of these guys are pretty new on the job, though, because we took most of them out last time in Operation Midnight Hammer. So we'll see how they're doing. Reason number 3, terrorism. I just addressed that just a little bit, but they also refuse to address the issue of its terror proxies.
Wouldn't even bring it up.
Would not even bring it up. And it's Kataib Hezbollah, which killed Americans in Iraq, the Taliban, Hezbollah, I guess Hezbollah regular, and the Houthis, and then also Hamas. I mean, these groups are just funded and alive and well and able to shoot, kill, maim, harass other people, Jews, because of Iran. How do we forget that? These aren't like isolated incidents where this is a fully self-funded group in Hamas. And the Taliban's just running around, because they have secret stashes of gold everywhere, They're being funded to do this stuff. It's coming from Iran. It's coming from the leadership of Iran. So the question is now or later, do we do it now and handle the problem? Or do we feel like we'll be in a better position to handle the problem later? Clip.
An Iranian regime armed with long-range missiles and nuclear weapons would be a dire threat to every American. We cannot allow a nation that raises terrorist armies to possess such weapons, would allow them to extort the world to their evil will. Not going to let it happen. We're not happening to us, and we're not going to let it happen to others. We're undertaking this massive operation not merely to ensure security for our own time and place, but for our children and their children, just as our ancestors have done for us many, many years ago. This is the duty and the burden of a free people. These actions are right, and they are necessary to ensure that Americans will never have to face a radical, bloodthirsty terrorist regime armed with nuclear weapons and lots of threats.
Pretty simple, right? You do have to deal with this problem one way or the other. We tried negotiations. Now we're trying the other thing. Because, and Lane, I think you made this point either in run through. Did you come in and say it on air or not about North Korea?
No, I don't think I made it. But there was that point. I don't know. I think it was Mehdi Hassan is saying that Iran proved the case for more countries to pursue nuclear weapons, and North Korea was the opposite. But I don't understand that, because North Korea is the case to pursue nuclear weapons. What we let happen. And we have negotiated, and they just continue to buy time. So in '93, they threatened to leave the Non-Proliferation Treaty. They don't. Then they come back in. Then they leave. Then we have six-party talks with the most powerful countries in the world. That lasts for 6 years, all the time. They're basically progressing just a little by little.
Yes.
Then they leave the six-party talks. Then they do nuclear tests. Then Trump comes back in and he's like, well, maybe we can re-engage with them. He tries to re-engage once in Singapore, again in Vietnam. That falls apart. And then by 2022, they're launching more missile tests and ICBMs that are capable of reaching the United States and its entire continental framework, all because they were able to push the can down the road, push it a little bit. And now it's a problem that is unsolvable, and you cannot deal with North Korea. They kind of have carte blanche to operate in a lot of ways. That could be extremely destructive to not only our troops in the region, the South Koreans, the Japanese. That is what you were dealing with. Now, take that out of the hands of a sovereign state actor like Kim. You can call him crazy, but it's a state, to a radical Islamist apocalyptic regime. And it's a 10x worse scenario.
Exactly.
So that, I think, has to come into the calculation.
And I think people, I mean, if you're thinking about this rationally, and again, you have to take off your everything in the world that is wrong is all the fault of the Jews. You have to take that hat off. And I know for some of you, it's really hard to get that one off. You wear it all the time, and just think about this rationally and go, hey, do we really want the largest state sponsor of terror to Hezbollah, Taliban, the Houthis, Hamas? Do we want them to possess nuclear weapons like North Korea possesses nuclear? How did North Korea get, this slow march, right? Where we tried to engage with them. We tried sanctions. We tried to engage economically and give them benefits, more revenue to make sure that they don't do this, and inspections, and hey, we non-proliferation, and hey. And then finally we find ourselves in crap, they have a bomb.
And you can't even blame the North Koreans.
No, they're doing what's in their own best interests.
I mean, it's a calculation they took, and I get it, but.
I mean, we've seen this play out before, and this is in parallel to what's going on in Iran, except Iran has a little bit different motivations. So I think it's a really, really good point, but also there's some really bad points being made here. Some people say that this is all about China, that this is going to encourage, the response to Russia, Ukraine was going to make China take Thailand. The response here is going to make, Taiwan. If they take Thailand, that'd actually be maybe an upgrade for the people in Thailand. Who knows? There's a lot of sex trafficking going on there. Never mind. Well, Chinese aren't going to take care of that, so never mind. I take that back. It's some
about China.
Taiwan,
it's not all about China.
Right? It's not all about China.
Enough about your summer vacation.
But it definitely does hurt Beijing.
I think this could tip the scales. It's like, well, this will, if we're on the fence, well, it's also not going to be great for Beijing, so let's go ahead and make the move.
It might make sense for us to do that, because something that's not great for Beijing is actually good for us.
Yes.
Typically. I mean, maybe there's some scenario, like a meteor.
A lot of it's
hitting the Earth, or something like that. Is it a meteorite at that point once it enters the Earth?
Yeah, because it has the right stuff to enter the atmosphere.
Is that really how you remember it?
Yeah.
It's science.
Got it.
I always thought it was like there's a meteor, and then a little meteor is a meteorite.
Oh, President Trump is speaking right now. Let's go to that. Oh.
Being here and
he's holding a Medal of Honor ceremony.
What?
Brought to you by Mountain Dew.
The hell just happened? Okay, so.
And a little bit of chicken fried.
Yeah.
Honor your
And a little bit of Mountain Dew.
This Medal of Honor is presented by Mountain Dew. Taste the Baja Blast.
Chuck Norris's urine. Mountain Dew.
The war in Iran is code red. So is Mountain Dew.
Jeez.
Do the Dew.
I mean, really, running Mountain Dew commercials and video game commercials during a war, guys, bad form. So really, we'll go back to this. If he comes back, I don't know if that's on our end, guys, or if that was on their end, like if something's
CNN.
Wrong with our
the
system
researchers
or what.
let us know if they start addressing the actual situation in Iran.
Right. We want to go to it when they address the situation, so let us know for that. So 13% of China's seaborne crude comes from Iran. And there was a recently developed overland route to ship crude and other products. I wonder why. Everybody's kind of gearing up for this. And they were actively collaborating on arms deals for drones and for missiles. Let me see now if he's doing this, because it looks like he might be doing it now. Let's go.
Bases both local and overseas, and would soon have had missiles capable of reaching our beautiful America. The purpose of this fast-growing missile program was to shield their nuclear weapon development and make it extraordinarily difficult for anyone to stop them from making these highly forbidden by us nuclear weapons. We were the ones that were complaining. We were the ones that wanted it stopped. But everybody was behind us. They just didn't have the courage to say so.
That's true.
An Iranian regime armed with long-range missiles and nuclear weapons would be an intolerable threat to the Middle East, but also to the American people. Our country itself would be under threat, and it was very nearly under threat. I was very proud to have knocked out the Iran nuclear deal by President Barack Hussein Obama. That was a horrible, horrible, dangerous document. They would have had nuclear weapons 3 years ago, and they would have used them.
The answer is maybe, but for the reasons we laid out, guys, that they could potentially get there under these agreements.
Has been attacking the United States and killing Americans. Every time you see someone with missing arms and legs or a face that's been absolutely shattered violently, it was almost certainly caused by an Iran roadside bomb. They were put there by General Soleimani, who was the father of the roadside bomb. Very proudly, he thought, but I terminated him in my first term. This was our last best chance to strike what we're doing right now and eliminate the intolerable threats posed by this sick and sinister regime. And they are indeed sick and sinister.
There is debate on whether those roadside bombs were made in Iraq versus Iran.
Destroying Iran's...
At least they were.
First 10 years of the war on terror, there's the estimate that about 20% of deaths were attributed directly to Iran.
Brand new ones, and pretty good ones they make. Second, we're annihilating their Navy. We've knocked out already 10 ships.
Now it's 10?
They're at the bottom of the sea. Third, we're ensuring that the world's #1 sponsor of terror can never obtain a nuclear weapon. Never going to have a nuclear weapon.
I would just like them not to
I
keep
said that from
sponsoring
the
terror
They're never going to have
as well.
A nuclear weapon. They were on the road to getting one legitimately through a deal that was signed foolishly by our country. And finally, we're ensuring that the Iranian regime cannot continue to arm, fund, and direct terrorist armies outside of their borders. And we thought we had a deal, but then they backed out, and they came back, and we thought we had a deal, and they backed out. I said, you can't deal with these people. You got to do it the right way. Today, we grieve for the 4 heroic American service members who have been killed in action and send our love and support to their families. In their memory, we continue this mission with ferocious, unyielding resolve to crush the threat this terrorist regime poses to the American people, and a threat indeed it is. We have the strongest and most powerful by far military in the world, and we will easily prevail. We're already substantially ahead of our time projections, but whatever the time is, it's okay. Whatever it takes, we will always, and we have right from the beginning, we projected 4 to 5 weeks, but we have capability to go far longer than that. We'll do it. Whatever somebody said today, they said, oh, well, the president wants to do it really quickly. After that, he'll get bored. I don't get bored. There's nothing boring about this. Do you agree with that, Pete? I don't think there's anything, Mr. General. I think there's nothing boring about it. Somebody actually said from the media, I think he'll get bored after about a week or two. No, we don't get bored. I never get bored. If I got bored, I wouldn't be standing here right now. I guarantee you that, to go through what I had to go through.
Yeah.
We also projected 4 weeks to terminate the military leadership, and as you know, that was done in about an hour, so we're ahead of schedule there. But please join me in thanking every American service member who bravely is standing in harm's way. They really are incredible, and I just want to thank you. We have a lot of them right here. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And by the way, anybody on X right now saying those people died for Israel, which I have heard over and over and over again, go screw yourselves. They died defending and making sure that this country was safe.
Thank you, everybody. We have a lot of great service members here with us, too, in this beautiful building. Isn't it beautiful? We're adding on to the building a little bit. We're improving the building.
It's not the time.
No.
When that comes down right now, you see a very
There's someone in the back
very deep
going,
hole.
Just not right
But
now.
About a year and a half from now, you're going to see.
All right, listen, we will come back to this. If there's anything that we need to, we'll cover some breaking information here.
What he talked about is like that proverb, and I think it's actually a very, the father plants the tree knowing he's never going to sit under its shade.
Yeah.
And maybe the tree grows, maybe it doesn't, but that's the people, and I don't want to speak out of turn because I never had the bravery to sign up like other people did. But just because their sacrifices aren't immediately tangible now, you have no idea what that's preventing in the future. And I know that's not the greatest argument, but to say that their lives were lost in vain, I think is a disrespect to what they've done and they decided to do.
Yeah.
Because they did it with agency, and I think they should be honored for it and not say, well, because if you say they did it in vain, you're calling these people stupid for signing up.
Yeah.
And I just don't think that's the case.
Yeah. And
I could be off there, but that's my...
No, I don't think you're off at all.
It's not in vain, and the men who serve next to them will ensure that.
Exactly.
It's part of your code,
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that we said is if this goes well, we want to know what day whatever looks like, the final day of this conflict. What does it look like? And if it all goes as planned, Kalshi already has odds on who will visit Iran first. And that brings us to our Kalshi check-in. All right, so prediction markets are all the rage because for a while, these guys have been getting it more right than wrong because that's where people are putting their money. So Raza Pahlavi has 30% chances right now. So that, what is that? The
crown prince. Yeah, the heir to the throne.
Exactly. So that's really high odds there. Jared Kushner, 17%, and also Marco Rubio at 15%, who... Unfortunately, Marco will find out he's now the new Ayatollah and in charge of the country.
As long as it's not Steve Witkoff.
I have it on good authority. It's Ayatollah. So
just going back to that, you're sticking with that?
Yeah.
You're sticking with your story there?
Yeah. That's
by the
reality I live in.
And I bring that up because that could actually matter to what happens next.
Yeah.
Right? So if Reza, who does have some popularity, there's debate right now about how popular he is, how many hardliners and supporters of the regime are there.
Very popular with the diaspora overseas,
sure.
Unclear as to how popular he would be domestically.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, you're still here? And you're still watching this on YouTube? You've probably noticed something is missing by now. I'm not here. That's because the Live Daily Show is now streaming exclusively on Rumble weekdays at 11 a.m. Eastern. Tune in there, where nothing is censored.